Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great. Today we're going to sew rows together. So here we have this long row and I need to attach it to this row. Now when you start turning them over and looking at them, it can get kind of confusing sometimes. So what I like to do, whichever one I'm going to start with, I'm going to put an arrow saying this one is going to this one. And that way when I start folding it and twisting and turning it, I know where it goes. So I'm going to get this in position for this one. So see, it's very helpful because I'm already having trouble seeing which ones. So these two go together. So I'm going to sew that one first. And this will be easy. I go between the paper and the fabric, out the corner. I do a stitch, and then I go back through that loop and make a knot. And then I'm going to go down that side. I'm going to do this really quickly, probably with a little bit bigger stitches than normally I would do, just so we can get to that corner and turn, because that's where it gets a little tricky. Now, if this is hard to hold together, I've seen people use binder clips. I know they sell clips for quilting. You can use magnets to hold these pieces together. I know the bigger they get, the harder they are to hold while you're sewing. So as you can see, I'm doing a whip stitch. That is what I prefer. So many people do use the flat back stitch, and that is perfectly fine. Whatever works best for you. Oops, I didn't even get into the fabric there. So like I said, I'm doing these just a little bit bigger than I would probably normally do. You see all my papers are still in place along the outside edges of each of these blocks. And I've arranged the hexagons into a diamond type of pattern. Okay, so now I'm in the corner. I've already taken one stitch in the corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop that through and I'm going to make that into a knot. So now this is where it gets tricky. So I'm opening it back up. Now I need to do this seam. And I don't want to take this outside paper out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up as best I can, and I'm going to gently fold that paper. I do not want to crease it, because each time I crease it, it gets a little more flimsy. And I like to reuse all of my papers. So I've taken my first stitch in the corner and now I've made a knot. So now I'm going to go down this side. Oops. Of course, it's going to grab on everything because I have the camera rolling. So go all the way down. Usually my stitches are about 1/16 of an inch apart. Now I've gotten started on my second seam. I think if you were doing this on a sewing machine, you would call it a Y seam. So I'm just doing my whip stitch over and over. I love to hear all of your comments. So please feel free to leave comments for me as well. If you have questions, I try to answer the questions. I'm also on Facebook at Learn to English Paper Piece. I love to see the projects that you are working on. And when I can, I try to answer questions. And if you find any of my videos helpful, please like the video by pushing the thumbs up button and subscribe. If you have your notifications turned on, you will get notifications every time I have a video. Okay, as you can see, I've got my whip stitch almost to the corner. So I'm going to do my final stitch in the corner. Now I'm going to do a stitch and loop back through to give it a knot. Now here you go. I've got another seam that I need to do, and I'm going to gently bend this one as well. Now if you were doing the flat back stitch, you wouldn't even need to worry about bending or creasing because it would be laying flat. But like I said, this is how I prefer to do it. So then I'm going to do a knot. And I'm coming down this seam. Of course, I'm only sewing with a single strand of thread, and I hold my needle close to where the thread goes through the eye so that it doesn't come out. And you'll get used to doing that. And of course, once it comes out a few times, you'll want to stop doing that. So I'm just going down this side. And then once you get past these first three, it gets a lot easier because you're going to take this paper out and then you can just easily fold them back to sew. Let's see, I get questions about my papers. I buy them. Dritz has 1.5 inch papers. I buy them, or I will cut them with my Cameo. That's why you'll see some of my papers are different colors. Dritz only sells them in white, but I use whatever cardstock I have on hand. But I do try to keep the cardstock the same thickness always. That way when you're folding it over the paper, you're folding it the same amount. Okay, so now I've sewn all the way around here. I'm going to pull this piece out. And now when I sew my next seam, I can fold it all the way. So that's where it gets easy. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful. I look forward to hearing all of your questions and comments. Please like and subscribe. Thanks so much, everyone, and happy sewing.